everybody, my name is Lauren Perkins. I'm a farmer owner from West Virginia.
And I'm Matthew Canter. I'm also a farmer owner from right here in Wisconsin.
So we are going to go to Tyler's farm in Vermont and check out where he's at.
Hey.
Hey, Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
Hey, everybody. I'm coming in good? Okay,
Yep.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna flip around for a minute and give you a little live action.
Oh yeah, I see.
So we are
in the world right there.
Yeah, we're out here, and the cows have been waiting patiently. Normally, they would have their midday paddock given to them a little sooner than this, but we wanted to share with you all the joy that cows get for fresh grass. And you can see that Melanie is up top reeling back a polywire, which is a little electrified white string that the cows are trained to know is their barrier for the day. And those cows had a fresh paddock this morning right after morning milking. And you can see that everybody is eager for fresh grass. And as Melanie opens up that string,
hey,
the girls are charging off into the new grass and enjoying a little late afternoon snack before this evening's milking. So I hope everybody
cows
out there that wonders. Yeah, I'm hoping all the folks out there in a live stream land watching this who wonder whether organic cows actually like to go to pasture. The answer is pretty redundantly clear that it is a big yes. So fresh grass, and the girls are enjoying it. Hopefully in a minute some will come a little bit closer and say hi, because since I do have a magic bar of service, I'm going to be stuck to like this zone, I think.
No, that's cool. Tyler, tell us, how many hours a day do cows normally spend out on grass on your farm?
Well, it takes us about an hour and a half to milk all 65 cows, but the paddocks, a paddock is a little small area like what we're looking at right now, which is sized to feed all the cows the grass that they would need for a 12-hour window. Those paddocks are all open. So when we call the cows to come in for evening milking, it's funny, the first 6 cows, who are like the total grass hogs of the crew, they're always the first 6 cows that get milked every single day. They come in to the parlor first. They push their way to the front of the line, and they're the first ones in, which means that the moment they're done milking, they're probably off pasture for about 10 minutes before they go right back outside to their new grass. So out of 24 hours, those cows are the first 6 are probably on pasture for 23 and a half of those hours. And the slackers who come in last are maybe out on pasture for 21 and a half, 22 hours. So they spend a majority of their time outside. And, you know, it's a little bit windy and it's a little cloudy and it's 55 degrees and drizzling here in Vermont. And that is exactly what these cows love. It doesn't matter. They're like the post office. Rain, sleet, snow, shine. If you give them an option to be outside, this is where they want to be.
Perfect.
And it looks like in typical Jersey fashion, they're starting to kind of come over to you.
Yeah, everybody's sharing.
What does your pasture look like? I mean, we see a lot of green here, but what all's down in there?
So we have a mix of pretty much native stuff. A lot of it is white clover, which is their favorite. There's red clover, Kentucky bluegrass, perennial ryegrass. There's an array of forbs like plantain and dandelions. We have there's a little, it's hard to see, a little purple flower there. That's knapweed, of which the cows like at certain stages and they don't like it at other stages. But conveniently, the stage in which they don't like it in, the honeybees absolutely love it. And so our farm, we are rotationally grazing Jersey cows, for milk, but we're also foraging honeybees. We have 10,000 bees that come and visit over the course of the summer, and they're pollinating everything around in the area and making organic honey off of our organic pastures. So that's a cool thing. And like you said, here's 2 of my favorites, actually. Rascal and Faith are the 2 cows in front of us that have just come to visit and show you a little bit of grazing in action.
So Tyler, I have a question. When you look at all those cows, how can you tell them apart age-wise? What is the age difference you got in your cows going on?
So the biological lifespan of a cow is like 13 to 15 years old. And we actually have several cows in our herd that are in the sort of 12 to um, 12, 11, 12 years of age. And then all of our cows, as I said, like Rascal here is one of my favorites. All of her daughters are named with the letter R so that we can track like a family lineage. So we have like a Rascal and a Rain and a Ray, and there's a Raleigh and Rhonda. And so we have all these R's, like a whole family of Rascals, aged right now from 2.5 years old all the way up to 11.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, do you have an Airbnb on your farm?
We do actually. Yep. You can kind of see there was a little cabin in the background. It's just right up there behind me. That is what we call the meadow cottage. And if you, when folks come and stay here for a farm stay, sometimes if the cows are out on a rotation, so it's every 45 days that they happen to be in this paddock. So if you're really lucky, you get to wake up and the cows are right there. And we actually have 3 farm stays on the farm and have folks traveling from New York and Boston and Montreal and all over the place who are just looking to get a break, leave the city and come to a farm and kind of see where their food comes from. And it's been a really cool experience to be able to connect with consumers like one-on-one and let folks come in. We've had folks come in and actually learn how to milk a cow. Our jerseys are notoriously they're pranksters though, and so when people come to our milking parlor, they always stand kind of in the front. The parlor's open at ground level, and there's some big nice open doors so folks can come in, and there's a lot of fresh air traveling through the parlor while we're milking. But as the cows exit the parlor and do their little 180, if they're ever going to sneak out a little bit of poo, it's going to happen right then. They love to try to poo on the guests because they're pranksters.
So Tyler, on our farm at home, we've always had jerseys. What about you guys? Have you guys always had jerseys on your farm?
We have, yep. So one unique thing about our farm is that we're actually first generation farmers. I started the place from scratch about 20 years ago, and
Hey
I never
Tyler,
milked a cow.
we might get you to clean off your lenses. We're getting a little bit of
Right?
rain. Yep, you're good.
Yeah, we're gonna grab. I think you're on the front camera now, right? Oh, we lost him.
There he is.
Perfect.
I'm here.
Yep.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah. Why don't you go grab the umbrella so you can? Sorry, I'm working with Jennifer here is helping me because in the first visit, after an hour, my arm got tired holding this funny little selfie stick. But we're gonna get it together. Now I got umbrella coverage, so
right.
hopefully I'll
Perfect.
stay clear to y'all. So I was saying, as a first generation farm, I actually when I decided to become a dairy farmer, I shopped around and I found a group of 25 cows, all due to calve in March. We're unique. We're a spring seasonal herd. And I came home from skiing one day because the long-standing joke, which remains true today, is I'm not sure whether I'm a farmer who skis or a ski bum who farms. But I came back from skiing and the first cow had her calf, and I had never milked a cow before in my life. I actually had to go get a neighbor to show me how to milk my cow. And so we started with jerseys, and we've just always had jerseys. And over the years, it's hard to tell from looking at them here on pasture, but there's a certain amount of what we would call a red jersey. And those have been crossbred with an American milking Devon, which is a really unique breed. It was the first cow into North America and responsible for plowing. It plowed a lot of the fields in New England. They would skid logs. They had a really high quality milk and meat. And they were a tri-purpose breed. And so we've integrated a little bit of hardiness into our herd by breeding with this Devon like every, 4 years or something. But the red color stays really persistent. So we have these like kind of rusty red colored jerseys.
I see you've got some black cows in there too. Do you have a preference when it comes to what your jerseys look like?
No, like my preference to jerseys and any cow is just that sort of pleasant cooperative nature. You know, they're all pretty curious and they're all pretty happy and they're all great at grazing grass. And we like the ones that are the less pranksters. You know, the ones that are willing to come into the parlor. You know, they say like your favorite cow is the one that you don't really notice that much. Actually, like, you know, there's the one that comes in and likes to like poop on you every single day, or is the last one to come in, or something like that. But you know, we're lucky in that they're all pretty great, so it's hard to really have a favorite. I
So
like them to
Tyler,
be,
oh
yeah.
nope, sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Didn't
I was
mean to
saying I
interrupt
just
you.
like them to be like short, compact, fat, and willing to eat grass, and that's what our girls do
That's
best.
every dairy farmer's dream. Yeah. So
Yeah.
my next question, so I'm a fourth generation farmer and I grew up on my family's farm. What about
Mhm.
you? Did you grow up on your farm or how did that work?
No, yeah. So like I'm saying, I'm a first generation farmer. I grew up in Rochester, New York. My wife grew up in Connecticut. Neither of us had ever even been on a farm. Um, I studied agriculture in college, and I worked as an organic inspector, and I worked in conservation for a little while, and I found myself spending a lot of time with farmers, and it was the deep sense of camaraderie amongst dairy farmers that drew me to wanting to become a dairy farmer, and it was the feedback loop of when I make decisions. You know, do I want to give the cows one paddock a day, 5 paddocks a day, whatever it is? The decisions that I make, the feedback loop was so fast. Like you'll see it, the cows will tell you right off whether it was a good decision or not. Uh, so yeah, no, we're being first generation. We didn't inherit 5 generations of ways of doing something, and we also had the opportunity to make all sorts of mistakes on our way. But it's been a really fun journey.
Can I ask? So I'm also a first generation dairy farmer, and one of the things I'm always kind of curious about. You talk about the trials and the errors and the joys and the successes. What have been some of the best decisions you've made being a first generation farmer?
You know, I think the best decision that we have made was not to fall into the equipment trap. I'm sharing with you here a nice close-up view of one of our red jerseys.
Oh, she's
Um,
beautiful.
but probably not falling into an equipment trap. We have invested all of our money into, when we first got here, all of it was into grazing infrastructure. So a lot of all the fence and the water lines and good cow lanes, and really developing a farm in which cows could conveniently and smoothly move through to do what they do best, which is harvest solar energy via organic grasslands and turn that into milk for people. Um, and then after that, we really took into account kind of the foundation of successful organic farming is eliminating stress. And so we shifted our animal housing. We were in an old tie stall barn, and we were using it like a big flat parlor. We've never confined the cows into a tie barn. We want to kind of maximize freedom, but we left the tie barn and we built bedded pack, open air, really bright, free span hoops. And the bedded pack is awesome because the cows essentially are sleeping on like a Tempur-Pedic bed of compost. It's rototilled twice a day, every day. It's cooking at 140 degrees and it gets fluffed up to like 18 inches deep. So when the cows lay down, you see this cow-sized divot. They make themselves a little nest, and it's really comfortable. And so, improving our milking facility, the handling, like cows just coming in and out with a parlor, and improving that sort of cow comfort, freedom of movement space for them to really have a high quality of living during the winter months when we're not able to graze. Um, those are probably the best decisions that we've made that I continue to enjoy.
That's awesome.
There's a there's our one Asher cross. That's a Wop Royale, and she has some sisters, Whopper and Whopper Junior and Whopper Supreme, um, who are no longer with us.
I see. Well, Those are some unique names for sure. We're going to give a quick shout out. We see Mrs. Angie's class at Sparta Head Start. Hi, guys. Also, now forgive me, I'm from West Virginia, but I don't know if I can pronounce that name.
Tahira?
Neil?
Ooh.
Neil, I'm sorry. But you're from Cashton, which is quite literally right down the road from here.
That's right.
So, anyway, but we're so glad to have all you guys' schools on here. And like I said, if you are on the live and you're with your school, be sure to say it in the comments, and we'll do a shout out.
We've got a question here from fourth graders in Cashton, so just down the road. They want to know, what's the hardest thing about dairy farming?
The hardest thing about dairy farming. So I often joke that the keys to successful dairy farming is having a very grounded and significant amount of optimistic delusion. You need to have a vision and a dream, and mine is definitely is grounded in the fact that I get to wake up in this beautiful place every single day and wander around it with the freedom of trying to figure out ways to make it better for myself, for my cows, and for all the customers and humanity downstream of this little watershed who benefit from me stewarding this land. With that, the next important things come tenacity and perseverance, because live streamers here in a windy, cold, rainy afternoon in Vermont would probably bail and go figure out a place indoors to work. But the farmers know that it doesn't matter, whatever the conditions, the cows need to be fed, the cows need to be milked, the comfort of all the animals that are in our care comes first, and we have to endure that. And so there has been days where the hydraulics are frozen up on the tractors, the skid steer won't start, it's 30 below zero. I'm just in absolute misery wondering why I chose this profession, and all you can do is grind it out and get it done. And those are the hard days. But like most things in life, at the end of those days, it's that purpose that's so rewarding. It's the fact that you're able to endure that, navigate it, get through that, and start that next day that feels so great and is inspiring to keep doing it.
I think it helps that you're in Vermont too. I mean, it looks pretty spectacular out there, all the time.
Yeah,
it's optimism.
It's a beautiful place, and right now we got the blue skies over there. I'll do a little screen flip here and share with you.
Oh man, it's got a pond.
This is our summertime vibe. Yeah, we have a beautiful, big, deep pond with a nice dock, and in the cloudy land over there, you can't see, but we're staring at the tallest mountain, Mount Mansfield in Vermont. And the side facing us is Smuggler's Notch, which is a really nice ski resort. So yeah, we got mountains, we got, all sorts of things to do. And then that's our sort of pond house garage. And on the other side is one of our other farm stays. And as we tour through, you can see we have, maybe you can see the wind turbine up there in the background. We have a little renewable energy, and to our northwest, which conveniently is where the wind turbine is pointing, we're looking at gorgeous blue skies and happy organic cows. So yes, it's not a very difficult place to wake up, and my commute is fantastic.
It looks like I've got some vacation ideas coming up now. Vermont.
Organic.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm first. Sorry. No, but
yeah,
Tyler,
all are welcome.
We've got a question. They want to know, how long does it take to milk a cow?
Well, it takes us, there's the process of getting the cows from the pasture, bringing them back to the hoops. We get them into the little holding area, which is kind of like the toll booth. The milking parlor where they actually get milked is sort of their toll booth. They drop off their milk, and that earns them the free pass straight to the next fresh paddock of grass, and that's what they want. So to actually milk one cow only takes maybe 5 minutes. But the process to milk all 65, to get them and then return them to pasture, is about, this time of year, is about an hour and a half, including washing and cleaning everything up.
I gotcha.
How far a walk, I guess, is it from your farthest paddock back to the parlor?
So we have really elaborate, like I said before, we invested in lanes. So we have fabric laid down and nice gravel roads that are really easy to walk on. But we're covering, our farm is just shy of 300 acres. We are grazing about 165, including some of the heifers and young stock. But of that 165, there's close to 200 paddocks, and the farthest one away might be like a mile and a half. And the girls will make that whole journey just to get that fresh grass. I think they think it's worth every step.
Well, I think we should give a quick shout out to the employees behind us that are waving all these awesome signs, and now they go. So, as farmers being here, I think that being part of Organic Valley is such a big deal for us. We get to do what we want to do on our farms, and we have the support of people from Organic Valley that are making all this happen. And it'd be hard as a farmer who might be a little bit technologically advanced. I'm really glad that they're here to do this for us. So.
No
Tyler,
joke. There's no joke there. Nothing but gratitude on this for all the hardworking folks back at the co-op. And I think a lot of people out there in Livestream land don't actually realize like how unique and how wonderful it is to be a farmer within Organic Valley. Like, folks don't realize out there that as a farmer-owned co-op, like, there's no secret group of investors. There's no kind of pod of owners that are looking to like cut corners to generate more profits for themselves. Like, the consumer comes first. Really, the farmer, the cow comes first. The business runs, and when consumers go out and buy our products, like, our farmers get paid, our employees at the co-op have a fair wage, they get paid, and then anything left over kind of gets distributed. Like, no one's asking us to sort of cut a corner and do it a different way. And I for one definitely feel blessed to be part of that co-op and to work with that team of good folks. And it's too bad they're not behind you with their signs to hear them. It's the truth.
Yeah. So I got another question we've got is, what is a roadblock you have ever overcome as a farmer?
I think like we perpetually, farmers we're viewed as farmers and producers of food, when in reality we are land stewards and producers of an array of ecosystem services. Our farms are providing pollinator habitat and wildlife habitat. We're sequestering atmospheric carbon. We're slowing down the water cycle. We're holding on to water. We're mitigating flood damage. And we work really hard to provide all of those services through this sort of stewardship of the land and working in partnership with our cows. But when we get compensated for just the production of food, and sometimes the consumers out there don't quite understand, there's a lot of competition. I mean, when a consumer goes into the store and is looking at whatever array of beverages they might consume, and choose something else, like it makes it tough. So the main roadblock I think that most farmers face is on that financial side. It's a hugely capital intensive project. Land is expensive. All the infrastructure and expense that goes into making sure that these girls are cared for to the top tier. It's difficult, and it's one of those things that oftentimes we say, I'd rather work for free than work for somebody else, and I think that's true.
I think we have some
so
visitors.
we have
visitors.
I have a unique visitor here that's going to come join us. One of the perks is living on a farm is also farm kids.
Ooh, there we go.
Yeah.
This is my wife Melanie, who's actually coming with Jackie Boy. And Jackie is a mini donkey who makes himself available for pets and afternoon walks for anybody who wants to come visit. And then Willow, my daughter, in the background, is headed in, and she has Jackie's mom, very originally named Jenny.
Good name.
Jenny,
Jenny and Jack.
And these guys like to come behind the cows and see if there was any clover that was missed. Most of the time, donkeys originate in very like dry rangeland areas, so they have to have sort of dry, boring hay. But like the cows, they absolutely love lush green grass. And so every afternoon they get to go out for a walk and find a little bit of clover and visit any folks that are here on the farm.
You mentioned before that you had 65-ish jerseys out there. I mean, one of the ways
correct.
I forget about is that in a lot of ways, like I'm not really the boss at my farm. You got 65 bossies there. It looks like you've got some donkeys that kind of rule the roost sometimes too. I had a question here. How many animals do you have on your entire farm?
So we have 65 milkers, and we generally raise a lot of young stock. And so right now there's about 28 heifers, and a heifer is sort of like a teenage cow who's not had a calf yet, but will enter the milking stream someday. And then we have a lot of another group of 28 younger ones. Our farm, again, being a first generation farm, we have a significant appreciation for the challenges of getting started farming. And so we've acted as an incubator space for up and coming new farmers. And so we have a young couple that works for us that is running a farm called Hunger Moon Farm. And that exists within the confines of our farm. And they're raising 1,200 pasture raised organic laying hens. They do about 2,000 meat birds, and they have a group of 50 meat goats, Boer Kiko cross meat goats. And those animals are all integrated into our overall management. So the cows will hit this pasture today. The chickens will actually come in tomorrow behind them and eat all the bugs, any grain particles left over, spread all the manure, kind of spread some clover seed. And then if there's any plants, like maybe some of that knapweed, the bees have taken on the flower, but if there's anything left over that maybe we don't want for the cows, then the goats will come through and browse that afterwards. So total number of animals, I mean, we're up in the thousands, but and that's just the ones that we're working with every single day. A lot of people don't realize on organic farms, these really diverse pastures with all the wildlife corridors, in addition to just the cows, we have raccoons and possums, and unfortunately for my bird dogs, skunks. There's all sorts of critters that call our farm home, in addition to the ones that we're working with every single day. And I think a lot of people don't realize how valuable that is to have organic farms on the landscape that are acting as a home. I think I was starting to say that, in the spring, we have 250 bluebird boxes across the farm that get occupied mostly by tree swallows. But 500 tree swallows will migrate up here and call our farm their home for the spring. And in turn for their elongated farm stay, we employ them as fly control. So they are just flying around the cows. And being an organic farm, we're not interested in using any sort of pesticides. We're not allowed to, but we're also chose to be organic because we're not interested in using pesticides to try to alleviate any sort of fly issues. And so instead, we built a system to employ our friends, the tree swallows.
I like it.
Are there any benefits to the cows being there beyond just making milk? Is there a benefit to the soil health at all?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's what these girls are doing. Essentially, not to get overly scientific about it, but the foundation of what we're doing as organic farmers is we are harvesting solar energy via organic pastures. All these grasses and clovers and forbs behind me are like a million little solar panels collecting solar energy, and they are making sugar to build new plant material, as well as trading a little bit of that sugar through their roots to feed the soil microbes in exchange for nutrients that the plants might not be able to get. And all of that energy is then captured within that plant and harvested by our friends, the cows. And the cows, through this sort of miraculous fermentation vat that is their rumen, are converting that energy into a form usable for people in protein and fat in their milk. But every time a cow takes a bite of the piece of grass, that grass kills off a little chunk of its own root system and uses the energy from those roots to grow more grass, so that it has the little photovoltaic receptor to harvest more sunshine, and then it uses that energy to grow more roots. That's why we do the whole rotational grazing, because we want that plant to recover before it gets grazed again. But every time those roots die off and those roots regrow, that plant is pulling carbon from the atmosphere and storing it in the earth. So on our farm, when we arrived here, actually, you can look at a book anywhere, wherever you are, any town, wherever your house is, or your favorite park or farm or something. There's a book with a soil survey, and you can find what your soil is, and you can find all the attributes of that soil. And on our farm, we were looking at soil organic matter, for example, and we were on the lower end of the spectrum. And then when we arrived now, after 20 years of this management, we're at the higher end of that spectrum. And so to put that in perspective, we were pulling in carbon all that time. But one little statistic that's easy to see is that for every 1% increase in organic matter, you increase that soil's capacity to hold onto water by 22,000 gallons of water per acre. And so a lot of our soils went up that 1% or 2% kind of within that spectrum. And so we've increased the capacity to hold on to water. So like in Vermont this year, maybe, folks across the country had heard on the news that we got like 26 inches of rain this summer, and normally we would get 12 to 13. And 12 of those inches fell in a 2-week span, and it caused a lot of damage, blowing out roads, flooding, all sorts of things. But it's this type of stewardship that can help to slow that water cycle down, to repair the watersheds and mitigate that type of thing. So these girls behind us, like I was saying, in addition to just making milk and meat, they're actually like helping the whole watershed. And I know we had some folks earlier in New York City say, hey, everybody in Times Square, this is a prime example. Like folks in New York City, all of their drinking water is coming from the Hudson Valley and the agricultural lands to the north. So for them, they have a significant vested interest in how that land is stewarded. And certainly from my understanding and knowledge of what's happening on these farms, if they have a choice, they sure want to choose organic dairy as the land stewards for that land.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We've got a question, Tyler. Do cows like being pet or scratched behind the ears? Is it the same with you girls?
They do love to be scratched behind the ears. It's up to each individual cow. Sometimes they like right on their tailbone, on the back of the top of their kind of back of their spine, on top of the tailbone. They love to be scratched there. They like to be scratched behind the ears, although they also like to bump you right in your butt if you are scratching them. Jerseys in particular seem to be real curious and friendly, and oftentimes will come up. Although our cows right now are all business. You give them a new piece of grass, and their mission is to go harvest the stuff they want first.
I absolutely loved your description, by the way, as far as grazing and the science behind it. And then I also loved hearing the connection that you have between New York City and your farm, which people must think is a very long distance away. But of course, with water, we're all connected. And I love just seeing those ladies out there with being directly contributing to being basically conservation warriors. I mean, they're helping people sequester carbon. They're helping people keep clean drinking water.
No doubt, they are our conservation warriors. And what's cool is I'm really excited for this paradigm shift out there, where folks could start to recognize that hey, my farmer is also my land steward. And when I go and choose Organic Valley products at the store, I'm hiring my farmer to steward my ecosystem, to steward the land that supports my well-being. And so yes, we are all connected, and what's happening up here in Vermont is impacting New York and Boston and the world as a whole. And so folks have the capacity and the power to go out there and make an investment in themselves and make an investment in their environment by hiring their farmers to provide this array of services beyond just that great tasting milk.
So Tyler, for our farm, we have been with Organic Valley since 2010. What about you guys?
Yeah, we started, and I think that first year was in 2007.
Awesome.
And we've been with Organic Valley the whole time.
What does a normal week look like? Do you take breaks throughout the day? What's your up early morning, when you're going to bed kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm up at 4:30. I'm in bed usually by 8:30. there's some downtime in the morning. I start every morning with a nice stiff cup of coffee and a little moment to just reflect and be grateful for the things in my life. And generally, I start out being grateful to wake up in this beautiful place and have the opportunity to do what I do. And I'm grateful for all the people in my life that help and support me while I do that. And then I head up to the barn with that attitude, and I have learned, the cows have taught me over the years that, like many other things in life, it's really great to not be overly fixated on the outcome, but rather be present and engaged in the process. And if I'm worried about getting out of the barn by 8:30 because I have to be somewhere, then those girls are going to make everything be a lot slower. And if I am engaged and present and with them, and not so worried about that outcome, then things seem to run much smoother, and everyone is kind of in a better place. And that has sort of translated over to almost everything else in my life. I take that same attitude. But somewhere in there, I get right afterwards, I'll have my first breakfast, and then I'll come out and I'll do all sorts of farm chores, cleaning up the barn. And if this time of year where we are starting to feed a little bit of hay, I'm feeding hay and I'm bedding the hoops and rototilling the pack. And then I'll go in and have second breakfast. And
second breakfast. That's where it's at.
Second breakfast, farmer's favorite, And then somewhere in that kind of 10 to 2 o'clock range, there's a whole list of things to do. What's nice is that, somebody, a mentor of mine years ago once told me, like, if you're the kind of person that absolutely needs to like cross the item off the list and try to finish it, then farming will probably kill you. But if you're the person that like can embrace the process of just working towards the list that is never ending, then it's a great career. And so that 10 to 2 block is just kind of pecking away at the list. It seems impossible, but what you do is you wake up and you kind of do the things that absolutely have to get done. And then you move to the things that you really want to get done, and then you kind of shift towards some of these other list items that maybe are possible. And before you realize it, you've actually accomplished the impossible, it seems. And then, I'm only 48 years old, but for the last 20 years, from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, I take a nap, and it is a beautiful, wonderful thing. It recharges you. And then I come out and do the evening chores, kind of tidy up whatever else has to happen. And then
are we cutting into your milk time right now? Or napping time?
What's that?
Are we cutting into your nap time right now?
Yeah, I'm missing my nap time.
Oh, no. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sacrosanct.
Well, Tyler, I have a quick question. Yeah, well, that's right. I think that kids, if you're on the live right now and you have questions for Tyler or Matt or any of go ahead and ask them. So my question to you, Tyler, is what is your favorite Organic Valley product? Mine is the string cheese.
The string cheese. Okay. No, I without a doubt absolutely love the pasture butter. And one of my favorite snacks, especially if I'm just feeling a little low in energy, I start my day with whole milk yogurt and a couple organic pastured eggs. But the little treat that I love, I don't eat a lot of sugar, and I don't eat anything really that comes out of a bag or a box, but I love a date. You take a date and you take out the pit and you take a big swab of Organic Valley pasture butter and jam it in the middle of that date. And it is just like a power-packed mix of fat and a little high-quality carbohydrate. It's a great little boost. So, I love the pasture butter.
I think I know when I get back to the farm, that's going to be my second breakfast for tomorrow. That sounds pretty good to me.
I have to look for dates. I don't know. Where does one find dates?
That's true.
Ooh. We live in Vermont, after all, which apparently looks like paradise.
That's also true. It's funny, Tyler, so I'm looking at where you're at in Vermont, and, I can feel the same. It's almost like I'm at home with you. So we have the same kind of rolling acres and stuff, and I think that, it's a beautiful thing to be on any kind of Organic Valley farm because, in general, we all kind of look like this, especially this time of year. It's the beautiful cows grazing in the back, and I
always wear a hoodie. This is the one day I'm not wearing a hoodie.
Yep, there you go.
Hoodie, hat.
Yep.
Hey, a question from Kaylin, a second grader. Excellent question, especially for a first-generation dairy farmer like yourself. What was the impetus? Why did you become a farmer?
So I went to college and studied agriculture. I actually have a master's degree in agronomy and soil science. I wanted to save the world, and I left college and got a job in conservation, specifically like soil conservation, and working on farms to help farmers adopt conservation practices to make their farms help more sustainable and more viable, and provide more services to humanity, like we were talking before. And it was a real challenge. I think the bureaucratic nightmare that was working for various government type organizations was a challenge, and I was asked to do things that weren't really jiving with what I understood. To shorten it, I would say we were working with kind of policy to sort of really encourage farmers to adopt engineering practices that had agronomic consequences. That means like ways of, say, storing manure and applying manure that wasn't healthy or helpful to the soil. And so kind of a shift of, rather than trying to encourage or figure out a way to help folks from the agency side of things, I kind of decided that I would like to lead by example. And if I couldn't save the world, I might be able to save my one little part. And if I made it really beautiful and folks had the opportunity to visit it or the opportunity to see it, maybe that would inspire them to go save a little piece, And if we all invest in ourselves and we all try to become the best person that we can be, it's amazing how powerful that ripple effect is. And so I was inspired to become a farmer, to save a little slice of the earth and make it a beautiful place. And I've dedicated my life to doing so. And it's been a beautiful journey. And I would encourage anybody out there who might share that vision to try to give it a try,
I totally agree. I mean, there's unfortunately a belief, I think, in this country that dairy farming is something that is only hereditary. And while it can be hereditary, in the case of Lauren here, 4 generations, I feel like the young kid here, 4 generations. But also as a first generation farmer, I mean, it can be done. You too can dairy. All you have to do is here we go. If I can remember, you have to be tenacious, have a optimistic disillusionment, right?
Yep.
And let's kind of sum it up just by saying that you want to make the world a better place.
I think that we could all agree that as farmers, and organic valley farmers at that it's everything that we can do to leave what we were given earth-wise on our farms to do, to leave it better for the next generation. I think that's something that speaks so loudly as being stewards of the land. And I think that even as organic valley farmers, we want to create the highest quality product with the least environmental impact. And through being organic farmers for Organic Valley, I think we're doing just that.
Agreed. We're bringing the.
I couldn't.
Are we still allowed to say bringing the good? I'm bringing the good. Are you bringing the good?
There you go.
Tyler's bringing the good.
Oh yeah, we're bringing the good out here.
Man.
Okay, so we answered that one, right? Do you have any other animals besides cows, donkeys, chickens on the farm? There's goats. What animals don't you have? Maybe that's the easier way to ask the question.
Right. Yeah. Well, Oscar the barn cat retired. We have 3 farm dogs, and I must admit that I don't know if reincarnation is a thing, but if it is, coming back and living on this farm as a farm dog really would be up top on the list of things possibly to do. All they get to, we have 2 small Munsterlanders and 1 Bracco Italiano, and nobody has ever heard of or seen any of those dogs, but they're
Munsterlander.
Yeah, Munsterlanders are like little brown and white bird finding machines, and all they love to do is roam around the farm, find a bird, and then stare at it for a while to tell me where it is. And so every time we come and go get the cows from pasture or do anything outside, usually there was one of them cruising around doing something with us. And that's all the animals that interact with us on a daily basis. Although, like I said, we have our fair share of owls and hawks and possums and porcupines and raccoons and deer and coyotes and everything else. The occasional black bear. So
I heard that you were a bit of a bird nerd. No offense. But what's one of your favorite birds, I guess, that you encounter on the farm?
Well, so we here at Stony Pond, we also make our own artisanal cheese, and we do this 3 days a week, and just to have an extra little, enterprise because we weren't working hard enough farming. Why not? And our cheese are all named after birds. There's a bird theme amongst them, and so our flagship cheese is the swallowtail tome, and that's after our tree swallows that come and do fly control. Our camembert style is the tom tom, and that is after the wild turkey. And we have big wild turkeys with their red heads and their long beards in the spring, and they kind of strut around the farm and fan out, and they're really funny to look at. There's big black orbs out in the pasture. And then we have a raclette style, which is called the black-capped cachet, because we really enjoy watching all the black-capped chickadees that kind of cruise around, and they find all sorts of little like nuts and seeds and store these little caches so that in the long winter time they have an array of food.
Quick question: How does a chickadee go? Give me the bird song of a chickadee on the spot. Is that right?
The ours make that kind of chickadee dee 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 noise.
Excellent.
And then we have our R&D cheese is the missing link. If we're ever kind of trying to come up with a new recipe, because the little like riparian areas on the edge of all our pastures and in between the meadows are home to the bobolink, which is a cool looking blackbird with a white stripe like a skunk, and we can't forget the pileated woodpecker. On the edge of the fields, like Woody the woodpecker, he lives in all the old kind of knots and trees and flies around and makes that funny laughing noise. And there's all sorts of great birds. Occasionally we have a blue heron that comes down and enjoys the pond. And
I didn't hear that. Was it a blue heron? Is that what you said?
Yeah, blue heron. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the same birds that we have here in Wisconsin. My favorite is the bobolink. Basically, I kind of think of it as like a flying skunk, right? It's just kind of flying through the air, black and white. And what I love about them, I don't know if others out here know this, is that they really love to nest in like thistles, which have kind of a bad rap. They're kind of prickly and all that. But my cows will eat around the thistle bushes, keeping the bobolink nests intact. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see in place. And as a result, you just get more and more bobolinks. They're just beautiful.
It is. I really enjoy the bobolink as well.
So Tyler, I have a quick question. So, but first, let's shout out to some of the schools that are with us. I see Miss Adley's second grade class is here, as well as Mrs. Martin's class in Westby, Miss Hamilton's second grade class in Whitewater, Wisconsin. Man, very cool.
And we got St. Patrick's School in Onalaska.
I didn't know how to pronounce it. I'm glad you said that.
Onalaska.
So Tyler, my question for you is, every farmer that's organic has their own meaning of what organic means to them. What does it mean to be organic on your farm?
To be organic, it's on one hand, like there's this very technical, normal sort of rule following. It's like we have the organic standards. It's a way of doing things. We follow all those rules. But to us, to be organic, it means pursuing what feels like the right way to do things without herbicides, to do things without pesticides, to do things mimicking and working with nature rather than trying to like commandeer it and force it to do what we want it to do, to work in partnership with our cows in the stewardship of the land, to share with folks what we feel is the most nutrient dense, bioavailable, high quality food that they can fuel themselves. And I think that's something that's really important. That's what guides us all, is that, I feel like a lot of the food industry is kind of driven by like, oh, how do we make more money? And one way to do that is to get people to pay a little bit more for it and to sort of reduce your cost of goods. So you can make an oat bar or something and like fortify that with vitamin D and lycopene and convince somebody to pay more for it because it's saving a rainforest somewhere or something like that. Organic and an Organic Valley and our dairy, like we're not cutting any corners. we're not trying to get rich. We're not trying to make somebody else a whole pile of money. We're trying to steward the land, and we're trying to make a really high quality, nutritious, bioavailable food source that nourishes people and makes great people. We want like great people out there in the world. We're excited that they're choosing our products, that they feel good when they're eating them. And I think that's what inspires us to do what we do and to do it well.
That's awesome. I have a weird kind of statement question though. So, I mean, what does it mean to be a farmer? Like for me at home, I'm a farmer, I'm a meteorologist, I'm an accountant, I'm HR, is that the same with you? While we may not work with a lot of
doubt.
people who
We
probably
have
have,
to be
yeah,
no doubt we have to be a jack of all trades.
yeah,
I'm an accountant, I'm an engineer, I'm a mechanic, I'm a veterinarian, I'm a soil scientist, I'm a meteorologist, I'm a land steward. And I think that idea that we might be land stewards, not just farmers, encompasses the fact that it requires all those skills.
yeah.
And it really should, it should be revered by society, as a really great career choice. It takes a very strong, intelligent person to do that, and we're blessed that there are a lot of great people out there that are willing to be farmers.
I think we're seeing a common theme here too with Organic Valley farmers, in that they're all those things. I mean, I admit I'm a pretty crummy mechanic. I changed my own oil once, right? And I'm an okay grazer.
Yeah.
But I think what we've got here, and what I've seen in you, is that we have philosophers, we have poets, we have people that are just in love with life, and that inspiration, I think, is what kind of pulls us all together and makes us do the things that we do. I think we are jacks of all trades, certainly, but it's that driving force behind it, and it's so obvious that you can see it with your eyes, you can smell it in the air, and I'm sure you can taste it in that grass.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
We have a silo here. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Oh man,
Isn't it amazing, Tyler, that we have been with you for this hour and we have experienced a rainstorm, the beautiful sunshine behind you now. Let's hope it doesn't snow. That'd be a little cold.
Yeah, 'tis the season.
Yeah, we're not ready for snow. Our grazing season, we did have a big rainstorm that took off all our beautiful leaves last week. But we're hoping to be able to sneak another couple weeks of grazing.
Awesome.
We've got the silo of questions here for a random question that I have no idea what I'm going to ask. All right then. Is there an interesting story about how your farm, Stony Pond Farm, became a farm? Hello there.
Yeah, it's what's funny. Let's see if I can get 5 minutes behind. Okay.
There we are. Yeah.
Here's Willow has come to say hi to, and Willow has a unique story in that, as first generation farmers and transplants to Vermont, Melanie and I are considered flatlanders. Willow here, however, is one of very few people in the last 100 years that were born in Fairfield, Vermont. She was born in her bedroom right here on the farm at home, and has been part of the farm ever since. But yeah, one of the unique things is that I was working as a inspector for organic farms, and I had to shadow another inspector before I was able to go do it on my own. And I visited this farm. I was kind of trolling around looking for farms as a young guy, like, trying to find my spot. Where could I be? And I came to this farm to meet with this woman and follow her around for the day, and immediately was like, this is the spot. I want to find something like this? This is the place that would inspire me to work hard throughout, for the rest of my life, building something special. And over the course of the day, she was telling me how she was looking to retire and move to the little ski town, kind of not too far from here. And I didn't really register that as the opportunity until almost a year later, when I got a job in conservation in the town next door. And one day after work, I drove over to this farm, and I just out of the blue asked this woman if I could have dinner and maybe rent a room in her house and start farming. And if she ever moved, I could take it over. And amazingly, she said yes. And for that year, I kind of spent a lot of time out in the barn and just building this farm. And and she moved off to the next town and honored her word, and I was able to buy what was left of an old dairy farm in 32 acres. And over the course of the last 20 years working with conservation agencies, with the Vermont Land Trust and such, we bought the adjacent 270 acres, and so now we're just shy of 300, and we rent another 100 down the road, and it's just been an awesome journey.
Tyler, I feel like we've seen your home kind of in the bird's eye view. I think that being on any organic valley farm feels like home. And I think that's so special for all of us to kind of share that while we may be away from home, like I am, you're a little bit closer to home here. But I feel right at home on your farm, Tyler.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's really nice to hear that. And yes, it's a beautiful place. And it does feel like home, obviously, to us and to most folks that come here. And I think that's why our farm stays have been so successful, actually, is, we give folks an opportunity to get out of the city, to come to really embrace and see where their food comes from, to participate in it if they want, and just find that reconnection to a farm. And I think people really enjoy that, because there's a lot of folks out there that just don't know, and I think that leaves a hole in people that they don't even realize is there. And when they come out to a farm and they meet their cows and they meet their farmers and they see these beautiful places for where their food comes from, they know that that's nourishing more than just their bodies. And
we want to say Happy Farmers Day to you, Tyler, and Willow. To you, Matt,
Happy
as well.
Farmers Day to everybody.
Yeah.
To you ladies in the background.
So we're going to go ahead now and switch it up, and we're going to go to Julia Gasser's farm in Ohio.
Okay. Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Bye.